Welcome to another episode of Up in the Air. I'm Vivian Rennie.
And I'm Chris Landolfi. So Vivian, obviously a very exciting weekend here in State College. We have homecoming weekend, the Rutgers game is this weekend, the parade. Are you excited for this weekend?
I am so excited. It feels like it's been so long since we've had a home game. Absolutely. And the parade, it's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for both of those. Obviously, rough couple of weeks for the football team, but I'm fully expecting them to bounce back this weekend.
Hoping for a great rebound. It's been a little painful, but I'm sure they're going to do great.
Me too. Well, this week we have stories on bears, Antarctica, as well as beach erosion.
We have all that and more, but first, here's Update in the Air. To make the plains and mountains safe for the massive herds of cattle that were brought to the West at the end of the 19th century, grizzly bears were routinely shot by ranchers. Ever since this practice was banned, the bears of Yellowstone National Park have been cut off from the rest of their kind. The closest grizzlies now prowl 70 miles north in Glacier National Park. In a new study published last week, it says that as grizzly populations increase in both of these national parks, the more adventurous males will begin to venture farther out of their territory. This will bring bears into areas where they've not been seen for more than a century. Frank Vaughn, leader of the Interagency of Grizzly Bear Study, is confident that if these bears keep roaming and expanding, these two populations will likely reconnect within a decade. As these two communities make contact, the genetic diversity of each group will be enhanced, granting the grizzly bear a better chance to adapt as the environments they thrive in shrink.
Zoo animals are disappearing all across Europe in crimes that are baffling the local authorities. Thieves are breaking into zoos and stealing rare animals throughout the continent. Since 2011, some 400 animals have been stolen from European zoos. In 2015 alone, 25 members of the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria reported thefts. While most animals in these zoos have identifying microchips, thieves are also finding a way to remove or disable them, making it impossible for the zoos to recover their animals. Police believe that criminal organizations are smuggling these animals into Eastern Europe, where they are being sold to wealthy buyers throughout the world. Zoos have lost small primates, including ring-tailed lemurs, silvery marmosets, and squirrel monkeys. Reptiles and exotic birds like parrots and penguins are also common targets. In one case, thieves stole 79 tortoises from a French zoo in a single effort. In an especially heinous act, in March 2017, poachers broke into the Zoo d'Ithori in France, killed an adult rhinoceros, and sawed off its horn. With increased security throughout Europe, many new zoos are now forced to decide whether to risk their animals being stolen or lock them up at night.
Wind is helping to awaken one of Antarctica's sleeping giants. Warming waters are being driven inland by winds and undercutting an ice shelf that holds back a vast glacier in danger of sliding into the ocean. In the report published on November 1st in the journal Science Advances, the Totten Glacier of eastern Antarctica is shown to be in the greatest danger. This glacier's floating edge serves as a brake, slowing its movement into the ocean. If the entire land-based glacier destabilizes and slips into the sea, global sea level could raise over 3.5 meters. Data shows that Totten Glacier is thinning via the warm water driven underneath by winds. Surface winds near the East Antarctic coast are expected to intensify in the next century due to warming. As a result, the ice shelf is likely to thin and flow faster, eventually sliding into the sea.
More than 1,000 years ago, around 1/4 of the island nation of Iceland was covered in lush forests. That was before the Vikings took their axes to the land, however. Now, with around 1% of the land covered in forest, many people are working to change that. Besides an attempt to be environmentally friendly, Iceland is also looking to combat its problem with soil erosion. A lack of trees combined with ash and larger pieces of volcanic rock spewed by eruptions has made farming impossible in many parts of the country. The loose soil combined with Iceland's strong winds has led to sandstorms that can further damage the land. These trees will also help Iceland to abide by its commitment to lower its carbon emissions by at least 50% by 2050. While it may not be possible to return to 25% of Iceland covered in trees, officials hope to at least reach 5% in the next 150 years.
Typhoon Damri made landfall last Saturday along Vietnam's south-central coast, leaving extensive damage in its path. With at least 44 confirmed fatalities and another 19 missing, authorities continue to search for survivors in the more than 100,000 homes that were damaged or destroyed. The storm has since dissipated, but officials warn residents that flooding may continue to be a problem for the region as additional heavy rain remains in the forecast. Among the many areas in danger of continued flooding is Da Nang. This city is host to an upcoming economic summit that will be attended by the leaders of the United States, Russia, China, and many other world powers. Although Da Nang was heavily damaged, residents race against the clock to repair the city in time for the summit next week.
Beaches in Florida lost hundreds of thousands of cubic yards of sand from Hurricane Irma in September, and officials in the state are hoping to purchase sand from the Bahamas to help replenish them. Due to a 1986 law, however, purchase of foreign sand is illegal unless it can be proven that no sand can be bought domestically. While Irma was a huge contributor to beach erosion, Florida has been facing this problem for years. Inadequate beach maintenance and unchecked coastal development are also powerful factors in this growing problem. While many other beaches that face erosion would normally dredge the ocean or take sand off the bottom of the water, the continental shelf is now too narrow. The most viable solution is for the state to purchase sand from the Caribbean. In February, even before Irma hit, Florida Senator Marco Rubio introduced a bill, the Sand Act, that would allow the purchase of foreign sand. At the time, Rubio said the ability to purchase sand from other countries is desperately needed. This bill would look to modernize what many people see as an outdated law and hopefully bring sand back to the beaches of Florida before it faces its next major hurricane.
Welcome back to the show.
We now have a special feature by Brian Sizik on fly fishing.
I'm here at Spring Creek in Center County, just a short 10 to 15 minute drive away from campus, and this area is actually well known around the country as being one of the best places to fly fish for trout. Nature writer and Pennsylvania native Paul Schulery once said, "Calling fishing a hobby is like calling brain surgery a job." After spending the afternoon on Spring Creek with Greg Hoover, it's easy to see why. Hoover is an entomologist by training, but is also a fly fishing instructor right here at Penn State University. He's had a love and a passion for the sport for quite a while.
Been suffering from a fly fishing problem for over 50 years.
He gave me a glimpse into some of the many factors that go into the art and science of fly fishing. One that certainly cannot be overlooked, of course, is the weather. Arguably the most important impact that weather has on fishing is on the temperature of the water.
They're active, when we get temperatures in the high 40s. I mean, their metabolism is slow, but ideally probably between 55 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit would be the ideal thermal conditions.
It also affects the bugs that the trout feast on.
Insects are influenced by their external environment, and so aquatic insects are influenced by the temperature of the water. And so they are going to be more active when temperatures are, I'll say, between 50 and probably 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
But Spring Creek is buffered by groundwater, which moderates the temperature.
It is groundwater buffered, so it's what we call a limestone stream that's influenced by water temps that may be as low as 48 degrees Fahrenheit.
This means the water doesn't get too cold in the winter.
In the winter time, people will come here and fish during the warmest time of the day in the winter months, and they will catch fish.
Or too warm in the summer.
Here we are in late, summer, early fall, and the stability of the water temperature makes this an excellent brown trout fishery.
But streams that aren't buffered don't have this luxury.
On larger streams, what we call freestone streams, they may be iced over at the time when fly rod trout fishermen are coming here to fish, and so they're not available because they are not buffered by that groundwater.
Another important factor is knowing the time of day the fish will be feeding.
There is a phenomena called diel periodicity, which at low light insects will release from the bottom of the stream, and then as the sun comes up they lessen, and then at dusk they'll increase their suspension or flow into the water column, and therefore they're more available to trout, and trout will feed during those peak times when the insects are releasing from the substrate.
But you might be surprised that some of the biggest fish can be caught after the sun goes down.
That state record brown trout that I think it's still the largest one caught on a fly, he caught at night on a large night wet fly.
So how did the fish see the fly at night?
But this was a fly that was subsurface, and it's built to push water like the bow wake of a boat. And what big trout and trout feel, not so much sight, but they have a lateral line that feels that change in water pressure, if you want to call it that.
Well, there you have it. Weather has such a big impact on fly fishing, and going for that perfect trout, I figured, hey, while I'm here, I might as well go for that perfect trout as well. I got a fishing pole, and well, let's throw a cast in.
Welcome back to the show. So Vivian, this weekend is homecoming weekend. We have a football game, we have a parade. So much stuff is going on this weekend. What do you have planned?
I'm definitely going to be heading out to the parade and then the game. It's going to be a really great weekend, but I'm a little nervous about the forecast.
Yeah, me too. Homecoming has normally in the past been a little earlier. We had it the end of September last year, but we have Kellyanne Class in the studio with us right now. Kellyanne, do you have any info on what the weather's going to be like this weekend for homecoming?
Well, guys, I will start out and say it's going to be cold for the game on Saturday. It's going to be quite chilly. I'll talk temperatures coming up in just a little bit, though. Let's take a look at the climate info for November 9th. So the average high right now is 53 degrees and the average low, 36 degrees. But the record low was actually set back in 1991, 16 degrees, and the record high, 72 degrees, set back in 1975. And one thing to note, on this day back in 1947, we actually had record snowfall, but it was only of 1 inch. Take a look at the temperature outlook. So let's go to the Pacific Northwest first. Below normal once again, but that's only a little bit. We're only going to see a little bit of below normal temperatures for the entire United States. The rest of the United States is actually going to be above normal, with most of the higher temperatures centered here on the western portions of Texas and the southeastern portions of New Mexico. But here in State College, we'll still see a little bit of above normal temperatures, but not as much as Texas and New Mexico. Precipitation outlook heading to the Pacific Northwest once again above normal precipitation. That stretches all the way to North Dakota into Wisconsin and Minnesota. But once again, the most of the United States is actually going to be below normal in precipitation. That directly correlates to the above average temperatures that we're seeing across the entire United States. Here in State College, though, we're going to be a little bit below normal for precipitation for November 4th to November 20th, but if you go just a little bit west, not as much, and then back actually into Erie, they're going to see a little bit of above normal precipitation. And this below normal precipitation really not going to help out with the drought in Montana. The red shading is an exceptional drought. This is in northern Montana, also actually in South Dakota, but hopefully with the above normal precipitation that they are seeing within the next several days will help that drought out. Let's go on into the Mississippi River Valley. Here, it's just some drought, not as bad as Montana, but they are seeing some drought here. And then here in New England, we see some drought in Maine and actually just to the west of State College in towards Pittsburgh. But here in State College, no drought, and hopefully we will start to develop a drought with the below normal precipitation. And here is the forecast that you've been waiting for the weekend. Saturday, 36 degrees. It's going to be chilly on Saturday. You'll finally want to break out those gloves and that hat and a scarf and a winter jacket as well. This is the high temperature, so temperatures when you start out for morning tailgates is going to be chilly, probably in the 20s actually, but the good news is no precipitation in the forecast, just plenty of sunshine. It's not until Sunday we could see some showers in the area, but we're back up into the mid-40s on Sunday. But guys, I know I'm going to the game on Saturday. I'm going to be bundled up, so if you see me, you're going to see me all bundled up. But are you guys going?
I'm going, and I'm also definitely going to be bundled up. It's the last home game that I can attend, so it's going to be very cold.
I'll also be there. I actually just bought a new winter jacket, so looks like I'm going to be breaking it out this weekend.
That seems like it's going to be a really great game anyway. I'm Vivian Rennie.
And I'm Chris Landolfi. Tune in next week, Up in the Air.